out of the box.
So for this episode, I want to talk about mastering, and it's a request subject that I get quite a lot. I've held off of it because I've not actually known how to approach it, because I think mastering is a difficult area to cover because every track kind of requires a slightly different master. There's not really a one size fits all as such when it comes to mastering, in my opinion, but there is two types of masters. Master one is the one you've just finished a track, you want to play it that evening in a club or on a stream or in your car or on your phone, and you want it to be kind of just louder, more chunky, and closer to how a finished track would sound. And then you've got Master 2, which is a kind of really nice polished master by a mastering engineer of the final version of the track that ends up on Spotify, all the streaming platforms, Beatport, etc., that people kind of listen to forevermore. And the one I want to show you is Master number 1. So if you've just finished a track, you just want to master it right away just to get it louder so you can play it that night or test it in your car, show some friends, whatever. And I felt like that's the best one for me to show you. There isn't a one size fits all. Mastering is just, it's like a whole nother kind of subject area separate from producing and mixing, in my opinion. And I don't think I've ever met anybody that masters a track in the same way, and I very rarely master my tracks exactly the same way each time. So I feel it's like quite a delicate subject area because it's very, very easy to smash a track with a limiter and kind of absolutely kill the dynamics on it. And I get sent so many tracks to kind of give feedback on, and sometimes my initial feedback is, if you just back off the master, I can give you more accurate feedback because you are literally squashing the whole track. And so there is a danger of that with mastering. So what I want to show you is a way that you can kind of delicately master your track so that it's not overcooked, but you are able to make it sound more chunky, more wide, and louder for when you play it in a club, on your car stereo, your phone, whatever. So let's jump in. So the blue is the unmastered version of one of my tracks called Do It Like This. And the green is a reference track. It's slightly biased because obviously I have the mastered version of the track to kind of reference. But my point in case is that it is a really good idea to find yourself a reference track, something that's loud, wide, chunky, that you can kind of use to try and get your master up close to kind of where you need it to be. The reason I've picked my track here is because I want to show you a couple of things to look out for when doing a master. So if your entire master looks like this section here, including the breakdowns, the intros, it's probably too loud. You can see with this master here, on the intro where it's quieter, there is some headroom there. The breakdown, there's loads of headroom, which is a good indication that the master's not kind of absolutely smashed. And again, on the outro as well, with the loudest parts kind of being nice and loud there. When I zoom out, it kind of just looks like one black line, but actually when you zoom in you can see some detail to it as well, and that's a really good indication of how a master should look, really, whether you're doing that as a kind of final master or just something to test in your car. The other thing I want to show you, which is really essential for mastering, is firstly, if you're in Ableton, to put your output of the reference track to X out, which means it will not go through any of your mastering chain instruments. So whenever you reference back to it, it will play it as it is, so it's not going to be affected by limiters, EQs, etc. on the master. The second one is to make sure that the BPM's correct up here and it matches the track here, and that you don't have it warped. So the warp should be off for both tracks, because ideally you're not going to be stretching the track. You don't want any kind of artifacts that may be involved in that warping process. Thirdly, it's really important to have some kind of mastering reference plugins up. I use this one called Decibel now, which is really, really good. It shows width, it shows LUFS, which is loudness units. It's got like a spectroscope. It shows kind of left, right, balance, everything like that. So it's very, very detailed. I like it a lot. And I've got my good old trusty Steed here scope, which lots of people tell me they can't get working anymore, but I've thankfully still managed to have it working like this. And for me, that's kind of just something I like to be able to look at, flick back and forth as I'm going. This version of mastering, I want to keep it simple. I wouldn't advise using it as like a final release ready master until you've maybe kind of like learned a little bit more around it. And again, like the absolute best piece of advice I can give you to a master in mastering is to get the mix down right. If your mix down is good, tight, and as it should be, you'll find it much easier to get a nice loud master if you've got a really, really muddy mix.